Good morning. Now, I do realize I'm the only thing standing between you and lunch. So be kind. I wanted to walk you through my adventures in fishing over the last 4 years because they've been, as usual with FedEx, unique. We never do anything the way everyone else does it. And I think they enjoy giving me challenges to see whether I sink or swim. So here I am. Click here, Cathy, click for your guide for this adventure. That is actually my name. It's my husband's fault. And it wasn't like I gotta look for a click guy to marry. He just kind of happened to come through and he's a really good guy. And the name is, well, there it is. So here's what they said to me. You're going to do fishing because you've been doing all this research on it. So it seems only logical to give you the chance to be able to prove yourself once again. But here's what we want you to do. We want you to reduce the live click rate down to the transportation average of 5.7%. Okay, we were averaging 26 to 30% live click rate. Not a problem. We'll do it. Here's the other thing we're going to have you do. We're only going to give you about, let's say 5% of the total population of email users, which came to about 25,000. Can you do it? Oh, one more thing. It's only you. Great. Just me, 5% down to 5.7% from 30%. I got nothing else to do for the next year. Let's see if this works. Great. So my coworker is my cat. He lays on my keyboard. He gets involved in my spreadsheets. He's a real peach. The first thing I had to do is, what is the actual problem, right? You can't solve a problem until you know the problem. So I need to find out, how big is this email landscape we're looking at with my industry? Your industry could be different. I don't know. So you take a really, really good look. So we have multiple operating companies, their services and ground and trade. And then Mr. Smith, our originator, likes to go shopping. I wish he would take up shoe shopping instead. He goes and buys other businesses. So now we have other email addresses that are all mixed in there, TNT, Genco, you name it there. It's just crazy time. We have distribution lists, which everyone knows it's a criminal's haven for wonderful ways to get into your business with one email. And some of those can have thousands of people on it. So there's another problem we have. We have point of sale. So each one of our FedEx offices has an email address that you can email them as a customer to say, I need this printed. What's it going to cost? It goes into a bin, and everyone that works that cash register has access to that point of sale email address, which means if somebody's clicking on email, you don't know who it is. It could be Bill, who worked in that office on Monday, who goes on Wednesday and works at a different office. So you can't even track them that way. They hop all over the place. So it's got its own little challenges that go along with that. And then we have vendors, which has legal constraints. According to our contracts, vendors are supposed to be taught, blah, 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 all about security awareness, yada, yada, yada. And they're clicking. So what do we do with those? All right. So totally about 500,000 employees, plus vendors and contractors and GSP and who knows what else is all thrown in there too. So it's huge and it's global. No big deal. So what is our target? Well, once I took a look at that and I started to determine who was doing the most clicking, it was coming out to be, of course, our individuals, because we have way more individuals' email addresses. So that's a one-to-one email address. All right, now I know him. Now I know who I'm going after. We'll forget about the distribution list for now. We'll forget about the point of sale. We'll just go after these individuals and see what we can do about that. But of these individuals, who is the greatest risk? So how are we going to determine who that great risk is? Because I don't want to get Bob on the tug, who never checks his email and never logs in. He's not really a huge risk. unless he does log in and doesn't know what he's doing, but the chance is pretty slim. I want to get those people that I know are causing a problem. Now, if I listen to executives, they were going to tell me who they thought was the biggest problem. Every executive thinks every other executive is the biggest threat. And strangely enough, they're not. But if I'd followed that, well, we'd be training executives and making them mad. That wasn't going to work. Finance, it has to be finance. I had a VP running around. It's finance. I'm telling everyone you're going to be training finance. I'm not. But thanks. Anyways. So I started taking a look into how we were going to determine that these individuals were actually a threat to the business. In doing that, I went into the email metrics. And there was a couple of things I found that we really needed to focus on. One of those was who is actually being attacked? Is it you? Is it your neighbor? Is it the person down the hallway? Who exactly is getting all of these emails? And kind of why? So more than likely, these people are either well known and their email is out there. Their email may have been stolen. And the other thing is, more than likely, a lot of these people that are being highly attacked, they're never seeing these emails. Our filtering program is excellent. And I'm hoping your filtering program is equally as excellent. So you can see it all coming in at them, but they're not getting it. So my fear is, what happens if one of these gets through? So these are probably people we want to focus on. And then we want to take a look at how bad are those threats? Is it just a bunch of spam about sales on sneakers? Or is this actually some sort of ransomware attack or BEC attack or thread hijacking? And then we can determine better, because on the left-hand side, those are things that we can't really control. That's all coming at us. So we got to take that into consideration. But on the right-hand side, we've got the individual's clicking tendency. Now, those little buggers, I knew right from the start, they were in my program. You are my new best friends. I know what you're doing. You're out there just merrily clicking on stuff, trying to make yourself popular and take down the business in the process. So now I know. Got people I'm going to separate out, people I'm going to bring in, because remember, I've only got 5% of my entire email population with which I can deal with. So then I wanted to take a look to see, okay, we know stuff's coming in, but what's going through the firewall and actually getting to the individuals? So I started taking a look at those metrics. And that families group that you see in the gray box is actually the inverse. Am I not working? I am working. I want to use this. Am I blasting you out? Oh no, she talks too loud. Is the inverse of what actually is coming through the firewall. So you see ransomware is at the top. It's that little bitty tiny thing. That's what's making it through. But if you looked and compared ransomware with credential phishing, we get less credential phishing attacked than we do ransomware. But what's coming through? Okay, so now we have to take that into consideration too. Is anything working now? Am I good? Okay. Yell if you can't hear me, and I'll just yell louder. So that's a thought too to keep in mind. If we're training people, we want to be training them on what it is that we know is actually making it to them. I'm not going to spend a lot of time, some people will groan, on training people on ransomware when our biggest threat is credential phishing. Right? Makes sense. Even when my CISO comes running down the hall with his hair on fire saying ransomware is taking everyone down. Okay. Gotcha. And the techniques. What type of techniques are coming through? What is it they're doing? Thread hijacking has gotten to be extremely popular. And Tanya Dudley, who's going to be talking after 3 o'clock, is going to tell you more about that. So I'm not going to dwell on that. And then what is their objective? What are these criminals trying to do with the information that they've got? Because all of this could go into your education for individuals to understand what is coming at them at work and what it is that they should be looking for. So if we take an email threat risk and we take high risk behavior, so they're clicking on stuff, they're doing risky logins, then we're going to have a high risk employee. So now I know if I take those metrics and look at them, who my 25,000 is going to be. I'm not going to waste my time on the executives who are only going to, stir up dirt and get me in trouble because I caught them doing something that they shouldn't. So what does the program look like? Now that I know who I need to target and I know what's coming through, what is this program going to be? Because what I really want to do is I want to get them on board with me. I don't want to make them mad. I want to educate them. I want to be their friend. I want them to play in my sandbox and make their mistakes there, not on the live clicks. You want to goof up for me, you can goof up in my sandbox. I don't find that as important as what you're doing live. So the different components of my program was assessments. I want to know from you specifically what it is you don't understand. If I'm telling you strong password, and you already know that, I'm wasting your time and mine. You're going to stop reading what I'm sending. So I set out an assessment and I tried to find out what it was that people really weren't understanding to be able to better educate them for not clicking. And amazingly enough, remember I told you credential thefts were like one of our top things. That's what they didn't understand. They thought, and this went across the board because I did it with various groups, they thought that if they filled in that little login with their credentials, that something would pop up and tell them that they had made a mistake. Oh boy. And credential theft is one of our biggest problems. Okay, so let's get some education out for that. Phishing simulations. So I wanted to be able to give them something that they normally weren't going to get. You know, all those VAP people that were getting hit, but they weren't getting the emails because the filtering program's taking it out. We need to be able to give them information and a test, I guess you could call it, as to what that would happen if they actually did get the email. And then we can also start seeing with, are they truly a risk or they're just being attacked? And if they did get something come through that they would behave, appropriately and turn it in. So they're going to get attacked every 6 to 8 weeks. It's really random. It's more like real life. We used to have a phishing program several years ago. They phished the entire corporation every month, last week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. That wasn't something that people would get used to. So I knew, end of the month, I was going to get phone calls. And they would say, is that you? And I'd say, no, I don't run the phishing program. Let me give you the number of the person that does. So we're random. Random, I think, is good. And education. So, we did the assessment. We understand what it is that they don't understand. So we need to build that information into education. These are letters that go out to them. Interesting information about things that they had not heard about before that's very appropriate for the company. This applies to the company. And we're going to start doing education for our executives, where I'm going to be putting metrics into those emails and telling them what it is that we're doing with their employees to help stop things like BEC and threat hijacking and how much that means to FedEx and the kind of damage that it could do. And then something that we didn't have, and you'd be surprised, with a company with 500,000 employees, we didn't have a set email policy that explained what we wanted from our employees when it came to their email. We went round and round and round with HR and legal about this. Well, there's stuff in there. It was so vague that you could have read just about anything into that at all that you wanted to. That was not a policy statement. I hate to tell them, but we've got one now, and we're working on getting that implemented and communicated to all. So that's going to be our teeth too. You can't punish someone. I know we hate that word. You can't punish someone for not following the rules when you don't even have the rules written down. That's just bananas. So now we have some rules and some guidelines for how it is that they're supposed to behave. And I think too, when people start realizing that we're serious about this, they'll also take a little bit better care with what it is that they're doing. So now we've got consistent education and assessment. So we're letting them know what it is that they're missing with the education. And we've already asked them what it is that they don't understand. We've got simulations we're doing every 6 to 8 weeks, will this reduce the live click rate? Okay, now remember, we were at about 30%. And I have said that I could get it down to 5.7. So I was hoping maybe 12. And that I could make an excuse that we didn't have enough people in the program in order to make it go down. Will it work? Well, I knew this. For each group that I was putting in, I was tracking. I was tracking what phishing simulations I was giving them. I know that's really hard to read, it's kind of fuzzy. But what phishing simulations I was giving them, what education was attached to them, and I was tracking to see what the failure rate was for each one of the groups that I pulled. So if I pulled a group of clickers, I named it clickers, and they stayed in that same group, and then I kept re-educating rather than dumping everybody into one giant group. And I noticed this seems to be working because look, we went from 30 some percent down to, that's 3% on the last simulation. Cool. But question is, what does it do to live click rate? It works. We went from on the left-hand side, somewhere in the area of 30%, down to what we are currently now, which is lower than this. It's 2.8%. So I'm actually under 5.7. And I'll tell you, I didn't track this the whole time along. I just actually kind of pulled this up about 2 or 3 months ago to take a look while I was doing all and pulling stuff in Excel spreadsheets. I have a problem with Excel. I'm addicted. And found that this was actually really working. So if you're a person in the purple, you've been absorbed into my program because I know for a fact that you're clicking. And if you're if you're a person that has been known to be very attacked, you're also in my program. So my hope is that we've already stopped anyone that would be in this having clicked by educating them ahead of time, by letting them know that phishing, we're watching it, that phishing is important. So we dropped somewhere in the area of 72% in a year. Not bad. Not bad. I felt pretty good about people say we were under 5.7, and we ran under 5.7 for 6 months straight. So I think that's pretty good. Okay, so next, how do we keep this and maintain this success going forward? Because, you know, once you get there, and then people start getting crazy because they forget. So how do we keep this going? Well, there's other metrics now that we've gathered. So we know about the total attacks. We know who's being attacked. We know how to determine the risk of the threat. So is it a really bad risk that they're getting, or is this just kind of something low? And we know about their clicking tendencies, but now what we have pulled in is job specifications. So we know if you're a manager and you have people underneath you, if you're an executive, if you have access to more classified information than not. We also know about your simulation behavior because we've been doing this for a year now. So we know whether or not you're passing or failing those simulations so that we can kind of adjust the program and the information that's being handed out in order to make that better. And the other thing we're getting that we're starting to take into consideration is we've got regional risk ratings. So as we're watching what's being attacked against us, we can now start determining whether there's specific areas that we need to approach with more education or knowledge. Maybe executives need to know because that group of people is suddenly being attacked by criminals, right? We're going in waves, and this is one more thing we can keep track of. So we know if in Bangladesh, all of a sudden there seems to be a huge onslaught of email heading in that direction, maybe we need to make some adjustments for our education. Maybe we need to pull more people in from that area because we see a higher click rate going up. It gives us the metrics that we never had before. I've been in security awareness now somewhere in the area of 16, 17 years. And I do remember when we first started this, management would come running up to us going, "You got to do targeted training." And you'd say, "Sure. How?" You're just guessing because once again, you're going according to somebody's thought that they think that some group is a problem. Well, Yeah. So we tried. We actually did try. We tried a group in, let's see, I think it was sales, because sales is always someone that they're so sure of is being hacked so hard. So we took a group of sales and we set them an assessment and they passed it. And we sent them information and they passed that too. So all we ended up doing was wasting about 6 months' time building out this program to train people that actually weren't the highest risk. And it was a hair bit of a, well, it was a learning experience, let's just say, for the program itself. But now with the metrics coming in, we have a better idea. So we can kind of get ahead of that curve if we're watching the email metrics and get that information out to individuals. So now we know we're taking email threat risk, what's coming in, who's being attacked, high risk behavior. Are they clicking on it? Are they a very attacked person? What's their live click rate compared to their simulated click rate? So, and the other risk, the simulation clicking, incomplete training. Here's another big one too. Are they belligerent? They're failing. They're not taking the education. Come on, give me some help here. And then you're live clicking. And my CISO is like, so what are we doing about those people that don't learn? I don't know. But now we have a policy, so that might help. Let's hope. They've got a high risk job level. Maybe they need a little more education about what we're seeing come through. So if you don't know what's coming through, you don't know what to avoid. The greater chance it is you're going to click on it. And location risk, like I just talked about now, is there a greater risk in a particular area? We're being attacked by some criminals for some reason and it's going through. And now we've got advanced metrics for those high risk employees that we need to get some education to, or in some cases, put some restrictions on the accesses that they have. So a checklist for you to remember as you're building out your program, or maybe you want to do some revamping of your program and you want to kind of rethink about it, is email metrics. The quantity of the email that's coming in, the email that's making it through. So just because a lot of this is coming through doesn't necessarily mean it's ever going to make it to your employees. I wouldn't waste my time on that type of an email. Let's do the ones that are coming through that they're failing at. And the impact, is it ransomware? Has there been some major attack that needs to be addressed? Their personal behavior. So what is their clicking tendency? Do they only fail at simulations because they never get email externally? Yeah, that could be a problem. Do they only fail at simulations and they don't have a problem with the stuff that they're getting through externally? Yeah. Is that big of a risk? Maybe not. Maybe they just need to quit failing at the simulations. Or maybe this is some sort of joke because their buddy said, yeah, it's those phishing people again, call Cathy. And their program participation. How willing are these individuals to actually take part in anything that you're doing? Whether that is, training, games, anything else that you can kind of follow. And the business risk. So business access, their location, their job level, all things to kind of keep in mind as you're training people going along. Now, not only email metrics can you get from your phishing program, but if you've got Azure for Microsoft, there's also metrics that you can pull from them that tells you a lot about high risk employees. And I feed that information into what it is that we're doing.